Rising Day! How are you all feeling? Excited? Energized? Thank you so much all the time for hosting 1 Billion Rising. As our comrade said, this is now the 7th year of 1 Billion Rising. I think let's all give yourselves a big round of applause. Because Hong Kong Rising has been a leader, a shining light in all the risings around the world. As we've been hearing throughout this afternoon's program, this year is very particular. It's an escalation of all the efforts we've been doing throughout 1 Billion Rising, 200 countries around the world. If we recall, 2013 was the first year we had 1 Billion Rising to end violence against women and girls. And normally, broadly, people took up the call to end physical and sexual violence. But here in Hong Kong, the same as the Philippines, same as Indonesia, Nepal, Sri Lanka, many countries in the global south already attached the issue of economic violence and poverty and labor exploitation way back even in 2013, the first year. So that escalated into a second year of 1 Billion Rising, of 1 Billion Rising for Justice. And again, Hong Kong 1 Billion Rising led the way with the Ariana issue, the coming together, the united front, the fierce commitment, dedication, and the alliances that were built to show really strong solidarity gave a different face to 1 Billion Rising for Justice. And we did achieve justice with all the ongoing efforts of all the groups, the tireless efforts. And we continued 1 Billion Rising on the third year under the theme of revolution. Now, revolution was a very interesting year because a lot of people, even from different sectors, really embraced the revolution theme. Because revolution, which we really demanded to be a radical shift in consciousness, brought in artists, brought in the youth rising, brought in the indigenous communities, brought in a lot of more radical creative resistance art. And so the word revolution actually engaged a lot of sectors and helped people understand that we cannot end violence against women and girls until we really address the systematic problems that are prevalent in society. So it was really that third and into the fourth year of revolution where we really began as a global movement. Here in Hong Kong, I cannot say that because you've been doing it from the beginning. But what I'm saying, the global movement really began to look at all the intersectional issues. We cannot end violence against women and girls unless we also look at poverty, economic violence, war, occupation, labor exploitation, human trafficking, capitalism, environmental plunder, violence against our LGBTQI communities, racism, discrimination, incarceration. We can go down the line of many, many issues that until we address all those issues together, we cannot truly end violence against women. So people really became more radical. They became much more determined to really look at all those hard issues and really go to uninitiated spaces. Because what we wanted every year, and I think you've always been doing it so amazingly here in Hong Kong, is really to get people who've not been our advocates and our allies and to come into the movement with us. Because we cannot do this alone. We need everyone. Because the issue of violence against women is not a singular issue. It's an issue that involves everyone, including men. So in the last 2 years, we've also seen huge men rising movements all around the world. Young men really committing to doing everything they can to end violence against women and not just walking away from the issue. Even if they're good men and they don't abuse women, their silence also keeps the violence continuing. So we've been seeing a lot of men rising movements all around the world. We have a lot of men rising here also. And that's really been a great model for engagement because remember, we cannot end violence if it's only women who are involved in the movement. So 1 Billion Rising, because it's an art and activism movement, includes everyone. It is inclusive as long as your vision, we hold the same vision, we hold the same dream of a violence-free world where women and girls can live with dignity, equality, and freedom and respect, then everyone is invited to join 1 Billion Rising. And from the 2 years of revolution, we moved into solidarity because, as we've also been hearing over and over again this afternoon, again, that Hong Kong emulates so wonderfully, is without strong global solidarity, we also cannot just simply fight the systems that are in front of us, also trying to get stronger each month, each year in front of us. So global solidarity, what it does is, first of all, it gives us energy to keep going. I know this work is exhausting. To all our activists here, I really want to commend you. You've been tirelessly just advocating for issues, but we know what global solidarity can do because it says you are not alone in your struggles. Domestic migrant workers in Hong Kong and around the world are not alone in your struggles because we see you, we feel you, we stand with you, we rise with you, we fight with you, we dance for you and with you. And so global solidarity is a huge component of 1 Billion Rising because it makes our issues visible to each other. It breaks open the silence. It also raises consciousness about issues that tend to get normalized in the media, tend to get normalized in society. So when we really address them in a much deeper way through 1 Billion Rising, then more societies and more countries around the world will begin to understand, oh, that's also violence. When you exploit workers, that's not a normal issue, that is also violence. And also when you look at the issues of capitalism and labor exploitation, that's also a form of violence towards women and girls. But, ladies and gentlemen, we all know that in the last 2 years, perhaps, we have seen an emergence of another phase of violence, haven't we? You all know what I'm talking about.
You have no voice anymore?
We fight against all these issues. We fight to change them. But what we're seeing more and more is that people who are coming into power, our own governments, Philippines, Indonesia, India, Bangladesh, everywhere, Croatia, the rise of either the right-wing conservative governments who are not pro-people, definitely not pro-workers, not pro-women, not pro-human rights, is also alarmingly rising, right? At the same time, in our parts of the world, we also see an alarming level of misogyny, the diminishing of women, the not even rudeness. Rudeness feels like a light word. It's much more crude and cruel, the putting down of women. Like our own president in the Philippines saying, oh, you know, you can just rape or rebel women through their vaginas or shoot them through their vaginas. That's not an acceptable thing for anyone to say, particularly a world leader. Saying I should have been the first to rape that missionary because she's beautiful. That is not an acceptable thing. So we can see more and more the connection between misogyny and tyranny and fascism and exploitation and abuse and all forms of state mechanisms controlling us. For example, in many parts of the world, we are losing already freedom of media, press freedom. Our activists are getting jailed, disappearing, getting imprisoned because of trumped-up charges, mainly because they are dissenting, they are putting out the truth, they are fearlessly changing things because the government, who are mandated to protect its citizens, are the first ones exploiting and abusing their women, their people. So, ladies and gentlemen, our work is not done, sadly. As our friend Sheila from Gabriela has already enumerated, we have had many victories. And I think a day like today, we cannot just focus also on what the problems are, even if they're numerous, because we have had many victories also because of our strength, our unity, our actions, our collective coming together. But we cannot lose track also of the rising issues that are also happening around us. And we have to keep working. You know, ladies and gentlemen, a united front that is fierce, that is energized, that is creative, that is determined, is very, very difficult to fight. We know this. When we are large in numbers, when we are determined, and when we are full of hope, that is very hard to kill. No one can kill that. No one can diminish that. No president or state or government can diminish that, because the power always belongs with the people. So do not underestimate your dancing here today. Do not underestimate every moment you are fighting and rising and really demanding for change, because your voices are being heard, your actions are being seen all around the world. Your action and dancing today affects the next person who is seeing you, who will then come and join the movement. So it's like a domino effect. It's very, very strong, very, very infectious, and very, very impactful. So I really, truly want to honor all the domestic migrant workers in Hong Kong. You know that I flew in this morning. I'm going to fly again back tonight to Manila. I just could not miss 1 year of being here in Hong Kong, because I myself get so much energy, so much inspiration from all of you. And also the level of political maturity and the level of discourse that happens here in Hong Kong is really like no other place, because as we see every year, all the intersectional issues we're fighting for now in the global 1 billion rising, all of you are fighting on a daily basis here in Hong Kong. You see all the financial institutions here. This is the bastion of capitalism and imperialism. And they are all getting rich on the back of your hard work and your sacrifices and your homesickness, your separation from your families. And that should not be made a regular issue that we just throw to the side. We as a world movement must learn from all of you and must put these issues as a #1 priority in the front of all our risings, because this is really where all the intersectional issues of the world meet. And yet, look at all the amazing activists here today. Look at all the amazing dancing. This is the only country where we dance so many versions of Break the Chain, where we dance We Are Beautiful from Netherlands, where we dance the Philippine dances, where we dance all together with no fatigue and exhaustion, just with joy, determination, and hope. So thank you so much once again. I want to really bring a message to all of you that your efforts here go far and wide. I cannot even begin to explain to you the effect that you gathering here today, rising, resisting, and uniting has on so many worker groups around the world. Not just workers, the people they work for also begin to wake up. And everyone really looks to Hong Kong for that energy and inspiration. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. We will continue to rise, resist, unite until the violence ends. And as our theme for this year is from revolution to solidarity, now we're saying it's not just Feb to March, International Women's Day. Rising has moved from a campaign to a way of life. So we will rise until the violence stops. We will resist until the violence stops. And we will do it all in a united way until the violence stops. So thank you so much. Rise, resist, unite.
Rise, resist, unite!
Rise, resist, unite.
Rise!